Okay, so like I know the video has taken longer than usual for me to upload, and so will future videos as I've gotten only busier. So while you wait for more vids on the channel, I guess it's a good time as any to say I have a gaming channel and a VOD channel, which I'll link in the description below. Okay, time for dumb cartoon stuff. Cartoon Network has always been the epitome of my childhood growing up. Back then, you had all the classics that spanned out week after week that wasn't just 90% of Teen Titans Go. Teen Titans, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Flapjack, and most importantly, Ben motherfucking 10. I've watched this show again and again, and the future series that came after never seemed to disappoint. Alien Force, Ultimate Alien, Omniverse, that one reboot that criticizes the franchise that we don't talk about. The franchise always seemed to amaze me with its unique and creative alien forms with amazing world building and fun characters. The show got a lot more mature as time went on to explore the deeper concepts about the world and the Omnitrix, but there was always a lot of charm behind the original Ben 10, and honestly, the themes on peak with this show. So just like the Teen Titans video, I'm going back in time when it started when an alien device did what it did and rank every single episode of Ben 10. Man, that show was a whole lot of nothing until... Actually, yeah, this episode just sucked. All it is just some random bikers steering the most destructive RV in existence. But you wanna know the worst part? The most baffling and mind-numbing thing in this entire show? The Rust Bucket is treated like an absolute piece of garbage here.
It smells. It breaks down.
And mind you, we are all the way in the final season. It would have been a lot cooler if we saw the Rust Bucket's mechanics and weapons that we haven't gotten a chance to see yet. Instead, it's treated like a regular ass dirty RV, and we get the whole it has character thing from Max. It has character? Motherfucker, it can fly! This episode is just worthless. It is less than worthless. So... where was the funny? The whole episode is about pranks and jokes, but not a single joke made me laugh except the ending. This is just such a lame adventure. The alien itself is great, but literally not one person does anything to stop until the final battle at the dam. They're all just running around and letting things happen. Somebody do something already! It's such a drag until the end, which wasn't even that great of a fight. It could have been so much more creative with the fight in the town and using different attractions to their advantage, and it could have been more fun watching Ben trick the alien into getting him into fistball, but it's all just lame. I swear I remember this episode being better. This is basically just the equivalent of the first episode of Marvel's What If. It's just a one-to-one of the pilot and the finale, but the end of the episode is so rushed and doesn't even hold a candle to the Nintendo secrets. What sucks is that this could have been a really good showcase on how much Ben has grown over the course of the show and could share some of that wisdom onto Gwen, who is even more reckless with the Omnitrix than he was. That and they try to have a message that the Omnitrix isn't what makes Ben a hero. But let's be honest, Secrets of the Omnitrix, along with several other episodes of Ben 10, do this better later on without directly telling us this message. Well, some of the jokes were funny. Yeah, that's about it. You think that a mind control episode would be really cool with Ben doing someone else's dirty work as his aliens, but the cool factor of this is just... The villain just uses people to steal random mall stuff for random things. Wait, why is he doing this again? Why did Max not believe Ben or Shaw about the KRAKKEN? Isn't he an alien hunter? So aliens are fine, but Krakens are just too outlandish for him to believe? Also, why does Max tell Ben that Shaw is too dangerous when he has literally never put anyone but himself in danger? It would have been more believable if Shaw threw Ben in for the live bait, but Ben dove in with him at his own free will. The first half of this episode is plain boring and terrible, but it does really pick itself back up in the second half. The environmentalist being animal poses was cool, and the underwater fight popped off hard, that it almost kinda excuses the rest of the episode. But why are there so many fishing puns? I don't understand fishing metaphors! This episode is just really... annoying. Both Ben and Gwen are just extremely unlikable here. Gwen really just did all the work to help people just for the attention, while Ben on the other hand kept fighting with Gwen about exactly who is the hero. If this was earlier in the season, I'd be okay with it, but with how much Ben has developed by now, there's such a drastic downgrade in Ben's character that is really hard to watch sometimes. The only thing holding this episode up is the world building and the lore behind the charms and hacks, which he himself is a cool villain. But then again, he did get knocked out by a rock. Considering this was the episode after a small problem where the Omnitrix was damaged at the end of the episode, I honestly thought this was about the watch not working, and it made the episode a lot worse when it wasn't that. Ben getting a cold was cool enough to see how it affected aliens, but I think it was just poorly timed because of the episode that came before. Then, and while I think the villain was interesting, they should have played more onto his motives. This had a genuinely amazing start with Ben and Gwen not 100% trusting Max after being a hypocrite about trust.
You always told us we could tell you anything, Grandpa. Guess you didn't feel the same.
But that's kind of where the good things about this end. The premise is pretty basic, which is weird considering this is the episode where they introduced the null space device. Phil is just such a lame twist villain that wasn't given much depth, and the kids not trusting Max fully came to such a rushed conclusion. That's kind of the weird thing with the show where it introduces personal conflicts between the family, but it ends up ending before the next episode. They could have done something so interesting with it that I know they're capable of writing, but just didn't deliver how I wanted them to. Honestly, a very forgettable episode. For a show that has such cool ideas and concepts that could tell some genuinely heartwarming stories, they kind of fumbled the ball here by telling a very generic parody TV show of our main character's events this episode. It started off very funny, but I honestly lost interest when I started going to conspiracy behind the show because it's just so boring compared to the rest of the show. For an episode that is carried by its comedy, it fell off hard and stopped being funny halfway through. Man, that show was a whole lot of nothing until the last 10 minutes. What's worse is that they could have told something pretty well about a son who just wants to be himself in front of his arrogant millionaire father. I was honestly expecting something like how the kid got to sumo slam at him because it's the only chance he ever feels like he got to be a kid, even for a little bit, instead of thinking about the family business that is built on corruption and lies. Basically just Pacifica from Gravity Falls. There's some hints of that, but they don't nearly go far enough with it. That I honestly thought the action was a little lackluster, and the little aliens don't even look that cool. Definitely not as good as Washington, BC, but still fun nonetheless. Seeing someone with real genius work the power of the Omnitrix like ANIMO was pretty good, and seeing all the different alien combinations as a glitch was cool as well. But I mean, I honestly didn't think flipping the faceplate of the most powerful technology in the universe created by the smartest alien in the galaxy upside down would just put everything back to normal. But then again, why has the stupidest answers not been the right ones in the show? I don't know, kind of a snooze fest until the latter half of the episode. The usage of the fungus and the introduction of Wildvine was all really exciting to see. And as usual, the unique art style for this TV show excels in episodes like these. But like I said, it takes a while for the good stuff to happen. I didn't really find it interesting that Ben and Gwen argued over what they shared, though I did really like this line here.
We might share a bunch of stuff, Gwen, but we don't share this.
Be careful.
That was a wholesome moment enough. Man, that show was a whole lot of nothing for half of the episode. It's not that I don't hate this idea, I think the slice of life episode with Ben and Gwen being used to having it easy and does real work is a charming idea enough, but it definitely takes a little longer than I would have hoped to get to the more crazy part of the episode. This episode would have been a lot lower if not for how cool the mummy stuff is and the build up that they were working on for the season finale of season 3, which the ideas it shows with the mummy and the wolf is all really great. That and seeing Ben use his aliens to do the work for him was a fun little segment in of itself. But I don't know, seeing everything else was kinda boring, but it did have a nice conclusion to it. A great start, but kinda got worse as the episode kept going. While I like that this episode reveals the twist at the beginning instead of trying to trick you, the idea of this being Ben's worst fears was seriously underused. Like, I would have found it infinitely more compelling and terrifying if we saw GHOSTFREAKED come back and pick off his family one by one while on the run from Vilgax and Cavern. That and Ultimate is just kinda dumb for overcoming Enoch's advice. Like, come on, you couldn't pick anything cooler for Ben to save the day? Whatever, it's fine I guess, just a little too safe for my tastes. Timecaster and Hex's dynamic is really what kept the episode going. I think I just really don't like Lucky Girl at all. It's interesting enough that Gwen wants to be a hero after watching Ben for so long, but I just don't like the dumb rivalry her and Ben have when it comes to Lucky Girl. Thankfully, it's not as present here as it was before, but just Lucky Girl existing is enough to stop the family drama. That and I don't like how Ben's Omnitrix doesn't work for 90% of the episode where it hardly ever goes offline for that long. It feels like it's just a cheap way to force the conflict, which, to be fair, is a big thing the show does, but it's especially apparent here. It's still fun, I really do love Timecaster as a character, but something about Lucky Girl episodes have always seemed to rub me the wrong way. Though the animation improved significantly from this episode and going forward, so it gets some pity points for that. This was probably the episode I was most excited revisiting because the one I rewatched the most as a kid. And now that I look at it, I'm now very mixed on it. While the adventures in the game is fun and all, this feels very late in the show to try and tell a message about Ben acting like a hero instead of trying to be one for the recognition. Like, we're already in season 3 out of the 4, and this feels like a season 1 episode. That and the resolution feels so forced. You can't honestly tell me that how you beat the game is in the instructions, right? It was a tired joke at first that ended up being the main reason why everyone was saved. It's really contrived. Such a delightful and unique episode. The color scheme with this episode is horrifically disgusting and I love it. I wasn't too sold on this episode at the start, but it did kick back up when the ticks started to eat away more and more at the planet. Also, this is like the first time we've seen Ben actually struggle to understand how to use an alien since then there were 10, which I think the show should have done more often with the more aliens he gets, but this is still great here.
Go, Web! Shazam! Up, up, and away, Web! Go! Go! Go, Web, go!
I think that's one of the best examples that uses its insane premise to make such fun episodes. They definitely weren't afraid to go off with the aliens here and how they eat humans, which I'm surprised by how much Cartoon Network shows got away with stuff like this back in the day. The show's premise excels here with great aesthetics for the aliens and a creepy environment for the episode. Not gonna lie, a baseball episode is weirdly cool for this show. Ben going back to meet up with his old baseball team and bullies was a fun ride, and the concept behind the robot team was really well thought out. And I'm not the only one who finds the scene one of the most badass scenes of the show, right? There is virtually no way Ben as himself should be able to do this, but he just does it and it's amazing. That and Ben constantly doing the wrong thing by cheating, even though he himself is being cheated, was fun to see. But the Forever Knights being a part of this dastardly plan is kinda hilarious. Out of all the things to use to go after Ben, and I guess also the president, why baseball? Like, there's no way that they could have assumed that Ben would even go to this game, right? It's just a silly plan that makes the episode a lot worse, but everything else is great. I'm honestly just kinda sick of what if episodes. It's not that this episode is bad, it just feels kinda pointless. Like, if you gotta tell a story of Ben going back feeling alienated from home and school because he's keeping a part of himself away from everyone, that is awesome. I'm glad that's something the show could tell at all. But just make it official. Don't try and tell me that this isn't canon just so I can watch a live action movie, which is just a worse version of this episode, by the way. That and they try to have tension between Max and Ben's dad, but it never goes anywhere, so...
Proud, huh? Now that's something I don't think he's ever felt of me.
Feels shallow and kinda disappointing. I don't even hate this episode, I really don't. But it really does ruin a lot of things because I now have to think that this?
Oh my gosh, it's working. I won't believe it.
For the record, I never cried when you pinned me. I had something in my eye.
Is how I could perceive Ben's summer being over. Congratulations, Race Against Time. You ruined Ben 10. First the fan art, and now you. I can't believe Mung Dahl went from cooking food to mutating animals after he lost his certificate.
Behold this, my certificate.
It's nice to see Ben's selfishness be put into question so early on in the show. He uses his aliens for whatever he wants, but then he later faces consequences when Dr. Animo attacks in the story and he can't turn alien again. Seeing him learn from this mistake later when he saves someone rather than getting a Sumo Slammer card was really great to see. Dr. Animo is also a really fun and wacky villain, and I like how they established some form of parallel between him and Ben. Kind of a weird start to otherwise a great episode with some cool build up to what's to come later in the series about the Omnitrix and Forever Knights. This is probably the only time we see a full episode where it's just one alien, and it paid off extremely well with showing how intuitive gray matter is.
So you think you broke my computer?
Yeah. But I'm really sorry, and I'll make it up to you somehow.
Hey, what's that new doohickey, Gwen?
Oh, this? It's a fingerprint scanner. That way, only I can start my computer.
You mean I didn't break it?
Nope. But it's nice to know that you are so responsible.
Oh, so this was worthless. Alright then. Despite the ending, this was kind of a very fun episode. The brothers were so cool and sweet. I love their childish natures when it came to their mama. It makes for some funny and great interaction with them, and I honestly wish I saw them earlier in the show for potential returns in future episodes. They gave us two of the best side characters and we literally never see them again in this show. The wrestling stuff was neat. I like how sympathetic Ben is here and is actually trying to find ways to fix his problems while still keeping his immature attitude and not admitting to his mistake he made. It almost made for a satisfying ending when he did admit he broke the laptop. Almost. Whoa, hey, what is this? Who are you? I'm you! I'm also you! Hey! Crazy! Huh. Alright then. So hey Cabbage, what do you think of this episode? Glad you asked, Cabbage. This episode was very unique with Ben's new aliens. I like how he gets crazy with the Omnitrix and how they all argue with each other. But don't forget Cabbage, Dr. Animo actually wins in this fight and it takes the whole family to take him down, which is a great thing to see in Season 4, amplifying his teamwork aspect of the Tennyson family. Okay, but here's the thing. Why does Gwen literally use only one spell in this episode? She has an entire book of some of the best magic, and she uses this wind spell the entire time. Hey guys, do I get a say in this? No! Body swapping episodes are always a win in my book, and this one definitely didn't disappoint. The stuff that they did with both Gwen and Charmcaster was really clever. I like how Gwen's escape is used against Charmcaster at the end. That was a nice little touch. But come on, you really gotta diss Max's cooking like that? So not cool.
It does?
I thought the black magic was bad, but this is just unforgivable. Aww, such a cute little Christmas episode about enslaving children for decades so a depressed old man can relive the days of his childhood. Wait, hold on a second. This is the best use of the show's animation style, and I don't think any other episode did it better than this. Using its gritty animation to create this horror fest of an episode made this an absolute banger. There's some genuinely terrifying stuff here, from the first time Ben saw Max after Zambozo stole his laughter, to the nightmare sequence later on, all the way to Ben using GHOSTFREAKED to do scary himself to get over his own fears made this for a fantastic episode.
I just figured out there's something I'm even more afraid of than you. Losing my family to some goofball emotional vampire. In other words, you're going down, clown.
This episode is definitely great for establishing the flaws with Max's duties as an old plumber and how he can have lapses in judgment like this. This was just a fun and wacky adventure that had some real depth for Max. But seriously, I find it stupid and hilarious how the sword just turns to dust.
Whoa, what happened?
Huh, so this is the episode where people thought of the Ben and Gwen porn. This episode is very wholesome with some actual depth behind the wedding itself. It's meant to end a long war between two races and it makes for some great arguments and jokes that come with it. Though I kinda don't like how the wife is the only one on board with the wedding. Like, I get the alien race's big dumb meanie heads, but it would have been more insane if it was other members of the family still supportive of the wedding and having a full-on family battle to protect a human family. Still a great episode, but could have been used a little more to wow me. Man, season 3 just has absolute bangers throughout, huh? The design behind the walls and the nighttime creepy aesthetic that is rarely seen works tremendously with the werewolf episode of Ben 10. The twist behind the wolf being an alien was nice and gave us some more lore about how the Omnitrix absorbs DNA. That and Ben having a crush was kinda wholesome. I like how it poses the question on if people will like him for who he is or just for his alien forms.
I figured I could train you, tame you, you know.
Train him? Tame him? He's a person, not a pet. You can't talk to my cousin like that.
Thanks.
Only I can talk to my cousin like that.
Cartoon Network pilots hardly ever miss. I think I prefer this one over the Teen Titans pilot. Starting off the episode with Ben clearly wanting to be a hero was a great build-up for when he actually succeeds in being one later on the show. The episode does a nice job of building Ben's character and showing off how he can be a bit both selfish and selfless.
If I can figure this thing out, maybe I can help people. I mean, really help them. Not just, you know, make things worse.
It already creates a lot of layers for his character to explore in future episodes of the show. It's not as funny as I'd hope, and I really wish that Ben could have come up with some dumb nicknames for his new aliens as he transformed to them, but still an amazing start nonetheless. I don't know what it is about random inconspicuous superhero groups showing up a TV show that the titular main character joining them to only understand that the group they were already in was good enough, but I always get a kick out of that trope. It's cool to see what real superheroes are like and how they contrast to Ben's methods of being a hero and not giving the villains chance to think. There's some complexity behind both ways that I don't think there really is a right answer.
By the provisions set forth in the Galactic Code of Conduct, I order you to surrender.
Do you yield?
Though there's this weird love thing with Tiny and Ben, I honestly can't figure out why. Like, bruh, he is a child. Excuse me, Ben Time, you dropped this. This episode is phenomenal with bringing everything together from this season, this epic two-parter. I think the only complaint that I have is that this feels like somewhat of a character regression of Ben after Back with a Vengeance. I know that this show does a really bad job at keeping a steady character growth of Ben, but it's extremely annoying here because Back with a Vengeance proved that it's not just Ben that's the hero, and Season 3 does a good job at enforcing that until this episode. He feels extremely unlikable here, and that's solely because he should have learned his lesson by now. But other than that, it's still a great setup for the second part and the return of the best villain on the show, don't at me. Okay, so like, genuine question here. What do the Forever Knights want again? Like, it's very unclear what their motives have been through this whole show instead of just being mustache-twirling villains. At first, they were harboring massive alien tech for mustache-twirling reasons, and then they tried to steal an ancient sword for mustache-twirling reasons. And then they created a robot baseball team and impersonate the president for, you know what, you get the point. Obviously, they give it a lot more depth in future series, but here, this is kind of the secret organization with not nearly as much depth as a lot of these big bads are. Cooper is a fun new addition. All the villains come together because this 10-year-old kid pissed them off too many times was cool. The fight scenes were well done. I especially love the snarkiness of Charmcaster with Gwen and the lack of using more spells. But like, it's hard to tell what the Forever Knights want, you know? I mean, it's a little better. I do still really love everything that I liked about part 1. I guess the reveal made the Forever King motives more defined. I'm at least glad they didn't have the dumbest plot twist ever and have it be Cooper. I still really like Cooper and his powers are really interesting. Upchuck swallowing something 20 times more powerful than the sun was kind of rad. I don't know, man. It feels very anticlimactic for such an amazing TV show that handled finales much better in seasons 1 through 3. Let's not pretend that Roswell wasn't when Max and Xylene fucked. This episode is overall very charming. It's nice to see Ben actually worried that he'll lose someone in his life. That and him realizing that he wasn't chosen for the Omnitrix was pretty sad to see. But I like how he comes to terms with Max's relationship with her. Nothing really too much to say about it. It's just a pretty wholesome episode that feels kinda weird for a season 3 finale considering the episode before this one. Oh yeah, Upchuck is cool too, I guess. Did you really think that I would say how Xylene is hot and how much I would want to have sexual intercourse with this alien? Come on guys, you're better than this. An absolute icon of an episode. I think what holds this episode back for me is just how mean Ben is at the beginning. I know that he's supposed to be selfish and such, but he kinda has no problem with running away from the police and stealing from a warehouse with Kevin. It would have made it better if he was questioning a little bit, building up him and Kevin's fight when the innocents are actually in danger due to their antics. Other than that, this is great for showing how heroic and honestly just how kind he is where he needs to be. He even tries to give Kevin another chance to grow and learn from being selfish because he needed to learn himself how to be selfless. That and the episode doesn't have a happy ending. Max and Ben's relationship is broken a little bit that needed to be rebuilt, and Kevin is now more of a threat than ever. Another Kevin episode, another banger. Seeing Ben help Kevin combine his alien powers only for it to be used against him was a great way to use up this soap. That and I think that Kevin overall being weaker than Ben because he doesn't have the full strength of aliens is a good way to build a rivalry more as Kevin learns to get stronger. There's also some really good moments here and there, like the life that Ben had and the villain being actually pretty fucking sick. Any villain that just rips apart the main character quite literally is a win in my book. I can't believe Ben would turn into a massive jerk that would reject his whole family for his work. Actually, I can totally believe that. Seeing the family split up like this, while being a little cliche for time travel episodes, works extremely well because it's just Ben who has split up from everyone because of his ego of being a hero. He starts to lose out on the things that make him, well, him. And seeing that learning experience was great to see.
Look, Gwen, I know your Ben can be a major dweeb, but enjoy him while you can.
That and seeing the Galactic forces being turned into sidekicks will never not be funny. Just look at them, they want to help you, Ben. Out of all of the episodes that would get a higher ranking than icons like Ben 10,000, Kevin 11, and Grudge Mats, I seriously didn't think this would be one of them. This episode provides a lot of fantastic set pieces for action. The Protector of the Fountain was also well thought out for a one-time side character.
Time is your friend, not your enemy. Appreciate what you have.
And bro, I cannot believe this is the episode that is one of, if not the best uses of both Stingfly and Heat Blast. I legitimately laughed harder than I have this entire show when Heat Blast threw a tantrum. Also, oh, look at the little baby, he's so cute. This episode still has my same problems I had in the return, but it's definitely a lot easier to swallow here because he's less arrogant here and more so just overly protective. This episode goes extremely hard with some of the best action and animation the show has had yet. Ben using all the different aliens was sick, and I really wish we saw more of the Frankenstein alien because the design is just so cool. I also really love the moral dilemma Ben has here, and it kind of hinting at his fear of his family being better off without him. It fixes some of my problems with the return and makes him a little more forgiving. That and GHOSTFREAKED is still the best villain with his cunning schemes to his amazing frightening design all the way down to his motives. They really pulled all the stops here to make Vilgax this terrifying monster with the animation of this episode. The build up of the season to Vilgax's meet with Ben paid off extremely well after all the cutaways and visions that added the next level of fear factor when Vilgax did appear. He's obviously a great villain that chastises Ben for not knowing the full potential of the Omnitrix and how it's crazy how it ended up in the hands of a 10-year-old. But Ben showed with this episode that he is 100% deserving of that power. Bounty Hunter episodes are designed to be absolute bangers. I think showing just how inexperienced Ben is early in the show is great because it leaves us a lot of time for Ben to train and get better with his aliens before the inevitable battle with him and Vilgax. The episode that came before definitely questioned naivete with the Omnitrix, but that question excels here as he loses several times throughout the episode and grows by actually using an alien that isn't just the strong ones. This was the perfect episode to introduce Grey Matter and establishes great development for Ben.
You're supposed to use your powers to help people, not find some stupid trading card.
It may be filler, but definitely one of the best filler episodes. Not only is Sam a very interesting villain, the one who built him is also a really great character. Just a man who wants to see change in the world, but actually goes too far with his knowledge and learns to just accept things for what they are. The fight with Sam was spectacular, and I really do enjoy Ben and Max's conflict in this episode. Of course Max gets fed up with Ben at this point. He's hardly if ever gotten a chance to have a day where he does what he wants, and Ben learns that he just needs to accept that and have a great time with his family anyways. Which is what he ends up doing. This singular episode of pure, unadulterated epicness made me want an entire TV show dedicated to Ben and Ken. Because oh my god, if it wasn't for GHOSTFREAKED, this would be even higher. Everything about this episode works as both an action-packed adventure and a perfect continuation of Ben as a father. I find it really funny how Ben gets annoyed at basically himself as overprotective because he's already experienced the dangers of what he's had to face as a kid. The devil in twist was also insanity because it uses Kevin's design to try and trick us into thinking that this is Kevin, only to see the real Kevin and the monstrosity that he's become now.
I guess I should thank you. With all that time in the null void, I was able to absorb a few tricks from all those aliens you locked in there with me. Ben 10,000, meet Kevin 11,000.
I really would have loved to see more of this What If universe because everything about it exudes perfect sequel series material. Oh yeah, also Future Gwen is hot. Oh my god! Like, I remember this episode being good, but Christ! Not only is GHOSTFREAKED extremely menacing with his ability to swap bodies and his twisted sense of humor when he tries to kill Gwen, but seeing one of Ben's aliens go rogue is such an amazing idea. And for it to be GHOSTFREAKED of all aliens get tired of Ben's antics makes it all the more better. He's just an overall amazing villain that even becomes a crime lord for the freaks? What? Also, Ben trying to tear up Gwen after not getting into her cause was really sweet, and overall builds the relationship further after this episode. Man, they really just one-up Sonic Adventure 2 with this one, huh?
I found you, Faker.
Faker? I think you're the fake hedgehog around here. You're comparing yourself to me? Ha! You're not even good enough to be
I'll
my
make you eat those words!
Kevin and Ben's rivalry has always been a big highlight of the show, and it really shows here. Of course Kevin wants to hurt so many people to get back at Ben for indirectly turning him to a monster. He's never had anyone to morally guide him, and he's so far gone that there's no point trying to change him now. This episode also introduced SAC, which is an appropriate organization to form now that there have been more people who come aware of aliens since the first season, whom we never see again canonically. And the fight with Ben and Kevin was spectacular, because Ben so decided to spare him while cutting deep into his emotions, transforming Kevin into a true abomination of anger and vengeance. Who knew just playing with the Omnitrix would actually give him full access one day? The fight in the Null Void was really well thought out, integrating Ben's aliens with sick choreography against Vilgax and Cavern. Also, I really loved how it wasn't just Ben that defeated him, it was an effort for the whole family, and Ben is genuinely grateful and never gets too overconfident in his win. Season 1 Ben would have just taken all the credit, but after learning just how dangerous the enemies are, can't be thankful enough for that his family, while not having powers, can help in ways that Ben can't. And I find it genius how Ben was fully willing to give up the Omnitrix for Gwen, and it was Gwen who had the idea to fool them so he can have the Watts back. Not saying that Ben wouldn't make the sacrifice, but his willingness to let it all go for his family really shows just how dependent he's become without the Omnitrix. He just doesn't know it yet.
You'll get yours, old man.
You okay? Normally, slugging me in the arm would make you feel much better.
You know, maybe if I went upgrade, I could get in those machines he's hooked up to and see if I could make him better.
Ben, that won't work.
Okay, then what if I went Ghost Freak? I could meld with him or something. I don't know. I just want to help him, you know?
I absolutely adore everything of this episode. The timing for this episode couldn't have been more perfect. Taking place after Kevin 11, Ben gets Max seriously injured and it makes him question if he's even safe to be around anymore. After Kevin and all the other aliens he's faced, he feels like he's always responsible for putting them in danger. It has such a strong emotional core that feels like a natural progression from the past couple of episodes. And it was honestly heartbreaking seeing Ben become so delusional that he tries to rationalize any way to help Max to make up for getting Max hurt. The first meeting with Ben and Vilgax was great and all the fights here went off hard. It may not be as grand a scale as any of the finales, but this episode is Ben 10's absolute best. It uses Ben's character growth throughout the show to naturally tell a story of Ben questioning just what his hero life really is. This perfectly encapsulates the many layers of Ben as a scared 10-year-old kid that, while does a lot of things for himself, always makes sure to look after his family because he doesn't want them to face the same dangers that he has to every day. I adore the amount of time and care spent for this episode and using such a very common trope for superhero shows that's executed perfectly. Ben throughout this whole show has wanted control. He wants to feel like he is the sole reason why the world and his family is safe. So when we get to this episode where he loses control and tries to find any alien to speed up the process of Max's recovery, it makes you really feel for this child being given a responsibility far greater than himself. And the ending shows us that he has never been alone. So some of that weight has been lifted from his shoulders as he understands that his family can take care of themselves, which makes it all the more better when they start fighting together. Ben 10 is just such a cool ass show, man. It definitely isn't as thought-provoking as Teen Titans, and it's definitely a lot messier than its later series, but there's something about seeing the many faults of this show that makes the experience all the more better as you further invest in Ben 10's universe, introducing even stronger stories and writing as time goes on. It is a franchise that only gets better, and I am so glad that I can relive my childhood once again. Oh boy, that was a video. I definitely plan on visiting the other Ben 10 TV shows in the future, but like, I really do need a break from binging all these TV shows. I have like 3 other platforms that anime is now. Be sure to check out those other tales on my Twitch in the description below. If you liked this video, let me know your thoughts on Ben 10 and my ranking of these episodes. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know for future content releases. It also helps out a lot, it's free, and you can always subscribe later. I'm your favorite Cowboy, signing off. And I hope I didn't forget anything.